Okay, we are now live. Ishan Prabhu, please
Hare
go
Krishna.
ahead and give us some prasadam.
Namam Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Paschatya Tarini. Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane, Gaurata She Namaha. Namo Brahmanaya Devaya, Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha, Jagadhitai Krishnaya Govindaya, Namo Namaha. Reading from Nectar of Devotion. First chapter, the characteristics of pure devotional service. This characteristic is called the rareness of pure devotional service. Well, let's read one thing from about the rareness of how rare it is that one becomes a real devotee, pure devotee. In Srila Prabhupada's preface to Bhagavad Gita, last sentence, Srila Prabhupada says, "We hope, therefore, that people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, as we have presented it here. And if even one man becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success." Srila Prabhupada is saying that he knows that thousands or even millions of Bhagavad Gitas are being distributed. And he's saying that if one person becomes a pure devotee, he'll consider all his efforts a success. This means that pure devotional service is very, very rarely achieved. In Nectar of Devotion, first chapter, Srila Prabhupada explains as follows. In the preliminary phase of spiritual life, there are different kinds of austerities, penances, and similar processes for attaining self-realization. However, even if an executor of these processes is without any material desire, completely liberated, in other words, from the material body, the body concept of life, the material concept of, but still cannot achieve, he still cannot achieve devotional service. Let's read that again. In the preliminary phase of spiritual life, there are different kinds of austerities and penances and similar processes for attaining self-realization. We keep the regulative principles, the do's and the don'ts. However, even if an executor of these processes is without any material desire, he still cannot achieve devotional service. And that means that even if one is liberated from all material desires, attractions, and repulsions, actually, things we don't want or repulsions, they're also material desires. Or it's desired on wanting our material environment to be the way we would like it. Whereas a real devotee, a pure devotee, he accepts everything as given by Krishna, the plus and the minus, the positive and the favorable and the seemingly unfavorable. A real devotee, pure devotee, he accepts it as Krishna's embrace. Just like Srimati Radharani, she prays, I do not know anyone as Krishna as my Lord, and he will always remain such, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace. So a pure devotee takes every condition as Krishna's embrace, or he may make me brokenhearted by not being present before me. Pure devotee nothing will sway the pure devotee's desire to render service to Krishna, even if he can't see Krishna. He's completely free to do everything and anything, but he's always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Just like we have a desire to have some material comfort or to eat something, some prasadam that tastes really wonderful. A pure devotee just has an automatic attraction or desire to be pleasing to Krishna, to take a pleasure in Krishna's pleasure. It's just spontaneous. You can't think of anything else. And just like there's one story where Krishna was asking for the dust of the dust of the feet of the devotees to place on his head, but so that because he said he was having a headache. So different members, they were very reluctant. Oh, if Krishna takes the dust from my feet, surely I'll go to hell. But when the gopis understood that Krishna needs the dust from their lotus feet, immediately, whether they go to hell or not is irrelevant. It's just a natural, spontaneous urge that Krishna must be happy. They feel that just like we feel that about our senses. They have the conviction that the only way I can be happy is if Krishna is happy. This is the healthy condition of the spirit soul, spontaneous. They're not thinking that they should feel this way. They can't help it feeling any other way. They can't help feeling this way. And it would never occur to them to feel any other way. So Srila Prabhupada says, aspiring by oneself alone to achieve devotional service is also not very hopeful, because Krishna does not agree to award this devotional service to merely anyone. As Srila Prabhupada is explaining, that we may try very hard to be a devotee, but we can't do it alone. And he'll explain why that is. Krishna can easily offer a person material happiness or even liberation. All over the world, people pray to God to enhance their material condition, whether it's wealth or health, success in their business, success in politics. They should have a successful family life. This is the way people relate to God. The Srila Prabhupada uses the word order supplier. That if you go on Amazon.com and you place your order. Then Amazon.com is the order supplier. They fulfill your order. It says that people relate to God in this way. In all the different religions, people are approaching Krishna by different names, like Allah or Jehovah, but they're not asking for pure love of God. They're asking Krishna to fulfill their material desires. And in so doing, they're guaranteeing themselves another material birth, because through their spiritual practice, they're cultivating their material desire. They're cultivating their desire to enjoy life in the material world. So it's called Kaitava Dharma, or cheating religions, because religion, the goal is really to become a devotee who has no desire, unalloyed. An alloy is a metal which has other ingredients added to it, maybe another kind of metal, but it's not a pure metal. So devotion to God, or devotion to Krishna, that is mixed with the ingredient of asking for something, it's not pure devotional service. Pure devotion means desiring nothing but Krishna's satisfaction. It must be very wonderful. So Krishna can easily offer a person material happiness or even liberation. People approach God with the desire to be free of all material desire, or to merge into the great light of God, the supreme, the Brahma Jyoti. People, they approach God like that. Either they want to have material satisfaction, or they want to escape from all material difficulties and simply merge. But in either case, the focal point is that I should be comfortable. It's about me. It's not about Krishna. So devotional service can, in fact, and this is the punchline, devotional service can, in fact, be attained only through the mercy of a pure devotee. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 19, verse 151, it is said, quote, "By the mercy of the spiritual master, who's a pure devotee, and by the mercy of Krishna, one can achieve the platform of devotional service. There is no other way." The rarity of devotional service is also confirmed in the Tantra Shastra, where Lord Shiva says to Sati, "My dear Sati, if one is a very fine philosopher, analyzing the different processes of knowledge, he can achieve liberation from the material entanglement. By performance of the ritualistic sacrifices recommended in the Vedas, one can be elevated to the platform of pious activities and thereby enjoy the material comforts of life to the fullest extent. But all such endeavors can hardly offer anyone devotional service to the Lord. Not even if one tries for it by such processes for many, many thousands of births. The Srila Prabhupada is explaining that one can engage in different kinds of sacrifices that are recommended in the Vedas, or one can engage in all kinds of pious activities that are recommended in the Vedas. And in this way, one can have all kinds of material blessings. Because one can enjoy the material comforts of life to the fullest extent. One can even go to the heavenly planets where life is very long and the pleasures of life are almost inconceivable to people on earth. But all such endeavors here's Srila Prabhupada says, of philosophical perfection or pious activities or sacrifices, all such endeavors can hardly offer anyone devotional service to the Lord. Not even if one tries for it by such processes for many, many thousands of births of being pious, doing all the things that are recommended in the scriptures, doing great sacrifices, all kinds of sacrifices, all kinds of renunciation, and all kinds of philosophical endeavor. It won't give us the pure devotional service, even if we do these things for many, many thousands of births. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's also confirmed by Prahlad Maharaj that merely by personal efforts or by the instructions, following the instructions of higher authorities, one cannot attain to the stage of devotional service. One must become blessed by the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee who's completely freed from the contamination of material desires. In the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th chapter, 18th verse, Narada also says to King Yudhisthira, "My dear king, it is Lord Krishna, known as Mukunda, who is the eternal protector of the Pandavas and the Yadus. He is also your spiritual master and instructor in every respect. He's the only worshipful God for you." Narada Muni is talking to Maharaj Yudhisthira, the emperor of the planet. He is the only worshipful God for you. He's very dear and affectionate, and he's the director of all your activities, both individual and familial. And what's more, he sometimes carries out your orders as if he were your messenger. My dear king, how very fortunate you are, because for others all these favors given to you by the Supreme Lord would not even be dreamt of. The purport to this verse is that the Lord easily offers liberation, but he rarely agrees to offer a soul devotional service, because by devotional service, the Lord himself becomes purchased by the devotee. So Srila Prabhupada explains that this nectar of devotion is written for his students. I was looking for that, where Srila Prabhupada explains that the nectar of devotion is for those who are serious to understand how to become a devotee. It's a summary study of Srila Rupa Goswami's wonderful or great work, Bhakti Rasam Rita Sindhu, the nectar of devotion, the nectar of the spiritual taste of having a pure love for Krishna. So, and here it is in the very first chapter that there's nothing we can do in order to attain it, but somehow or other, we have to receive the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee. He has to be very pleased with us. If we go to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 34, and purport, Srila Prabhupada explained. Oh, I'm in the wrong chapter. 434. I understand what Srila Prabhupada is saying, but I wanted to read it in his words. Tadvidi pranipatena paraprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. Tattvadarshana. Tattva means the absolute truth. And the darshan means that we have to find somebody. We have to find a spiritual master. We say bona fide spiritual master. It means that he has the darshan, or the audience, of the absolute truth. He's always in touch with Krishna. So Krishna is explaining, and Srila Prabhupada gives his purport. Krishna is saying, you just find such a person who's always has the personal association of Krishna. You approach him, you inquire from him submissively. And what is that inquiry? Is explained in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, that one should approach the spiritual master and, quote, inquire from him about love. That how do I develop love? Love for Krishna, love for the spiritual master. How do I achieve this love of Krishna? So, tadvidi pranipatena paraprashnena. Just approach that person who's always in touch with Krishna. Inquire from him submissively. So to inquire is not simply conceptual, asking for explanations, but it means to be very submissive to him at the same time and try to understand his heart. Just as in Srila Prabhupada writes in the 10th canto, that an diksha or initiation means to begin to cultivate a heart-to-heart relationship with a pure devotee. spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada explains in that purport that the only qualification for the disciple being able to carry Krishna within the core of his heart is that he has an intimate a heart-to-heart relationship with someone who always has Krishna within the core of their heart. So here in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 34, Krishna says, you just try to learn the truth. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul, he can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So Srila Prabhupada is always seeing Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada says that one has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive such knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender. And one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. So submission means that if my heart is completely open to you, gradually I'll be able to understand your feelings. Gradually I'll be able to understand your heart. This is submission, to put our own desires and our own needs aside, even for a moment, and just try to understand your feelings. Then I may be able to understand your heart. This is submission. Inquiries and a submission. So I have to approach Srila Prabhupada, who knows Krishna personally, and ask him what it's like. What is it like to have this love for Krishna? And to be submissive enough to try and understand his heart. Unless there is, Srila Prabhupada writes, submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. Now here's the next line. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master. I'll read that again. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master. We have a relationship with Krishna's pure devotee, and he's watching us. He knows what the spiritual master, the bona fide spiritual master, is empowered by Krishna. He's empowered by Krishna in a special way that just as the all-pervasive supersoul, the expansion of Krishna's all-pervasive form as Paramatma, the Lord of the heart, the spiritual master is given that kind of power. The spiritual master is empowered to take the role of the all-pervasive supersoul that can understand the heart of all of us at every moment. Srila Prabhupada says the supersoul in the heart of all of us, of every conditioned soul, from the tiny insect to the president of a country and everyone in between. Krishna understands all of our feelings, all of our thoughts. So the bona fide spiritual master is empowered by Krishna to have this ability of the all-pervasive supersoul. He's called the external manifestation of the Lord in the heart. The bona fide spiritual master is the external manifestation of the Lord. We can't imagine that kind of power. Srila Prabhupada says that the mystic yogis, they have all kinds of mystic perfections. I think there are 8 major mystic perfections to become smaller than the smallest. A perfected yogi can walk through a wall because he can become tinier than the atom, or the greater than the greatest. He can go from one planet to another. He can bring anything into his hand from a distant place. Oh, you would like a mango at this moment? He can do all of these things. But Srila Prabhupada writes in Srimad Bhagavatam that the powers of the mystic yogi, the perfected mystic yogi, are simply inconceivable compared, the powers of the pure devotee, and make the powers of the perfected yogi, the comparison, the powers of the perfected yogi are insignificant compared to Srila Prabhupada's power. But he doesn't make a display. He can make a display, but that kind of display is that's for the less intelligent people. Miracles are required. And then they have faith. If some yogi can produce a little something in his hand, all of a sudden he has thousands of followers and they think of him as God. But a pure devotee is very reluctant to make that kind because it attracts less intelligent people. So Krishna consciousness is for the most intelligent, but they have to understand that the pure devotee is an avatar of Krishna. Shakti Avesh avatar. Krishna puts his Shakti into his bona fide spiritual master, so that into his bona fide disciple, into his bona fide pure devotee, so that the pure devotee who's representing Krishna has the powers of the Supreme Lord himself and can enter into the heart of all living beings and understand our feelings, understand. Srila Prabhupada explains in the Upanishads that the supersoul in the heart and the individual soul, they're like 2 birds in the same tree, the tree of this body. And the individual soul, the conditioned soul, is trying to enjoy the fruits of the tree, trying to enjoy this body, this mind. And the super soul is just watching, waiting for the individual soul to turn to him. Just watching the individual soul trying to enjoy in so many ways. So This is Srila Prabhupada's position. He's not hiding from us, but he's waiting for us to turn to him. He's the external manifestation of the Paramatma. That he appears before us externally because we don't have this sense of our relationship with him, that he's with us all the time. He's just waiting for us. There's one lecture by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta that was recorded and written down. And it says that just as people, as a yogi can see who has Paramatma realization, he can see that God is present in everything. Just like in one lecture, Srila Prabhupada explained. When you see the tree, you don't see a tree, you see Krishna. Krishna is present between every atom and within every atom. Krishna is all-pervading. So in that lecture, Vishnu John asked, what does this mean? Is it something we do with our mind? As Srila Prabhupada said, it's not something we do with our mind, it's a fact. Krishna is present within every atom and between every atom in the material universe. So the spiritual master is the external manifestation of the all-pervading supersoul. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta speaks that we should see Srila Prabhupada in everything in the material creation. Imagine, it's written. I have the book, Array of Vishnu, that he's instructing us that we should, if we touch a stone, we should see that, we should envision that Srila Prabhupada is present in that stone. How carefully we should handle that stone. When I was, I was going to say, when I was a karmi, when I was a conditioned soul, I'm still a conditioned soul. But I used to move things with my feet sometimes. If my hands were full and I'm trying to do something in my shop or something, my hands are, I have a tool in one hand, a piece of wood in the other hand, and I have to move something on the floor. I would move it with my foot. But, but Krishna's in every atom. Srila Prabhupada is in that piece of everything that's in my shop. So, or if I'm washing a dish, how much attentively and carefully I should handle that dish or that spoon or whatever in the sink, that Srila Prabhupada is present in every atom. This is our relationship with, we can't have a relationship with the Paramatma in our heart because we haven't reached that level of realization. But we can cultivate because he has appeared before us and we understand who he is and what is his position, that he's the external manifestation of the all-pervasive supersoul. In the fifth chapter of the first canto, Srila Vyasadeva is writing, he's writing the Srimad Bhagavatam. He's writing the Vedic literature, and he's not satisfied in his heart. And Narada Muni appears to him as his spiritual master. And he's Srila Vyasadeva, to teach us, he prays to Narada Muni as his, he says, you're as good as the all-pervasive supersoul. It's in the fifth chapter. You're as good as so therefore you can look into and understand the heart of everyone. Please find out what is my deficiency and help me to understand what I need to do in order to feel completely satisfied. So this is the position of our spiritual. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada, in his books, when we read his, again and again, Srila Prabhupada says, we should not think of the bona fide spiritual master as an ordinary man. We shouldn't see him as a great teacher, a great philosopher, someone who has great mental ability, etc. We should understand that he is empowered by Krishna to take the position of the Lord in the heart. He's the he's as good as the all-pervasive super soul who's waiting for us to turn to him. So how do we turn to him? So we were reading in the fourth chapter where Srila Prabhupada says, inquiries and submission. Inquiry. What is this love of Krishna? Submission means I imbibe the taste, the flavor. If you associate with someone very intimately, you begin to understand how they feel. And as we so often repeatedly return to this quote in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 25, that this pure devotion, it's as much infectious, but in a good sense, like an infectious disease. Infection of the qualities of the pure devotee means to imbibe the taste of his devotion in his association. It's like drinking. Or we went to university, we studied biology, botany. Botany, you put a seed in water and the seed begins to grow. How? Before it sprouts, it starts to increase in size because it imbibes imbibition. It imbibes the water. The process is called osmosis. The seed starts to suck in the water and it swells in size. So Srila Prabhupada says that to become infected with the qualities of, that's a metaphor, of course, just like if you associate with someone who has COVID, you can catch COVID because you get something that they're carrying, something very subtle, and you take it in, and then this COVID will fill your whole body. And he says that he gives another metaphor in the same purport, 1.5.25, that this, what does this infection mean? It means to imbibe the taste of Srila Prabhupada's feelings for Krishna. Imagine that. It's like osmosis, like a seed that's put in water is taking in that water. So he says, and then Srila Prabhupada says, when the disciple imbibes the taste of the spiritual master's devotion, what happens? He says it makes all material tastes distasteful. Hey, we sing that every morning. From him, Krishna Prem emanate. In this way, by him, our ignorance is destroyed. This is the basis of an artha nivritti. Artha means to gain something positive. Anartha means to delete things that are not positive, things that we don't want. So anartha nivritti, the stage where the unwanted desires are leaving our heart, they can leave our heart. How? When we take in and cultivate the desires of Krishna consciousness by the process of transcendental osmosis. But transcendental osmosis means to imbibe the taste of the devotion of the pure devotee. So wonderful, so simple. This is how Lord Chaitanya shares Krishna consciousness. If we read in Chaitanya Charitamrita that he's the most Namo Mahabhadanaya Avatar. He's the most munificent of. This is how Lord Chaitanya taught. He taught Krishna consciousness. Krishna says in I believe it's in the first chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita that I will teach this devotional service by practicing it myself. He infected everyone wherever he went by sharing his devotional feelings. Oh, he made a display. He made a display of his ecstatic feelings of love for Krishna, taking the role of a devotee. As Srila Prabhupada explains elsewhere that a pure devotee is very reluctant to make that display, but he's always experiencing these ecstatic emotions of love of Krishna within his heart. Always. So he said, the lotus feet of our spiritual master is the only way by which we can obtain this pure devotional service. It's our first prayer, our first sentence, our first line, the first line of our prayer in which we acknowledge the potency of our spiritual master, his ability to bless us. The lotus feet of our spiritual master is the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. Therefore, we bow down before his lotus feet with great awe and reverence, because by his grace, one can obtain the mercy of Krishna. What is Krishna's mercy? He agrees that we can be his pure devotee. Why does he agree? He agrees because he's conquered by love. And where do we get that love? We get that love from somebody who has that love. And how do we get it from somebody who has that love? We get it from someone who has that love by the process of transcendental osmosis, imbibing the taste of his love of Krishna, becoming infected with. This means we have to have a very intimate relationship with Srila Prabhupada. This means we have to have a very thick relationship. Srila Prabhupada uses these words: intimate, thick, heart to heart, heart to heart. We can become intimately connected with him. The more we try to come close to Srila Prabhupada, the more he reveals himself to us. We begin to feel his mood. The more we try to approach him in a personal way, the more he becomes personal with us. This is Krishna consciousness. He has Krishna consciousness. So we were reading from 434 that in this verse, both blind fall. Oh yes, unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. We can ask questions, philosophical questions from Srila Prabhupada for 1,000,000 years. But unless the submission is there, by which we can imbibe the taste of his devotion, unless there is submission and service. So what is that service? That service is that we're trying to please him. Personal, you know. I used to be a waiter in hotels when I was young in the summer vacation. You know, you bring the food to the table. You can put it right down in front of somebody in a very impersonal way and keep running because you have other people at other tables. But if you put it down with a smile and you're happy that you have something nice to offer to somebody, what happens? The person looks up and they smile back at you. But if you just put it down like it's a machine, like a machine activity, mechanical, they also don't, they simply accept it in that way, but they don't shine their smile on you. When we are personal, Srila Prabhupada becomes personal too. So he says, unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master. And when he sees the genuine desire of this disciple, what happens? He automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Not to be a blind follower, not to simply keep all the rules and regulations. Srila Prabhupada said that to keep all the rules and regulations perfectly without having this feeling of personal trying to please in our heart. He says that's called niyamagraha. Srila Prabhupada says it's called, he explains that his very words are missing the point. The point is that we can't have a personal relationship with Krishna at this stage in our development. Therefore, Krishna's pure devotee is there to receive our love, even though it's not very advanced, even though it's not very pure, but to receive our personal desire to please him. So he says, both blind following and so that's blind following. I don't have the sense of this relationship, but I'm trying to do everything right. But it shouldn't be blind following. We should feel. Blind means having not feeling of reciprocation. I'm doing everything he wants. You know, there's one quote in the Chaitanya Charitamrita purport where Srila Prabhupada says that if the disciple has actual love for the spiritual master, everything is revealed, quote unquote. Everything is revealed to a devotee, a student who has love for the spiritual master. Now we have to remember again that in the what do they call that? The preface. Srila Prabhupada's last sentence was that, we were reading in Nectar of Devotion, that this is very, very rare. And that anyone can attain this. And how rare is it that Srila Prabhupada says, in spite of distributing millions of Bhagavad Gitas, if one person becomes a pure devotee, he'll consider his preaching mission a success. But it's not that it's difficult. It's not that it's difficult. Prema bhakti yaha hoite avidya vinashayate. All of our avidya, our ignorance, is destroyed if we can imbibe the taste of his devotion. All we have to do is keep company. Hey, all we have to do to catch COVID is to have an intimate relationship with someone who has COVID. We're going to catch it. We don't have to understand how. All we have to do is associate. Be intimate with someone who has COVID. I guarantee you, you're going to catch COVID. That's why people wear these masks. You can't even receive the breath. You can't even receive the breath of someone who has COVID. You inhale and you have COVID. So pure devotion is like that. Pure devotion is as much infectious in a good sense as an infectious disease. So what we're trying to do is to understand how this Krishna consciousness works. That's all we're talking about. Because until one has, we need a GPS to get from one city to another, one country to another. We're in the car and the car is saying, now turn right, now in 150 yards, turn left, or meters, whatever. A GPS, something is telling. Then if we accept the instruction, we can reach our goal. We know where we are. There's two things required in order to reach our goal. One is to understand our present condition, and the other is to understand how to get to our goal. So we need a GPS for how to become a real devotee, a pure devotee. So this is what we're discussing. It doesn't mean we will be there right away, but let's have a sense of direction. That's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to make anyone wrong. We're not trying to say that we are on that platform. I'm talking with my godbrothers. I'm talking with other people who want to be devotees. And together Srila Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavatam that in order to maintain this orientation in Krishna consciousness, have this sense of direction, we should immediately and repeatedly describe the path of devotional service. We discuss it amongst each other. The process of the mind, thinking of something, then feeling, and then willing. Just like somebody may think, oh, there's ice cream in the fridge, in the freezer. Thinking, and then remembering the taste of this ice cream. And then saying, I want it. And the next thing you know, their feet are going towards the freezer box, towards the fridge, thinking, feeling, and willing. The same thing takes place. That's why we have classes in Krishna consciousness to discuss first thinking, and oh yes, and feeling, and then willing, desiring. So that's why we discuss the path, so that we can begin. And if it's a mystery to us, or there's some, oh, how do we do this? How do we do this? Yeah, that's all right. But at least because if the mind begins to inquire, how can I do this? Krishna will help us to understand how to do this. There's one prayer in our songbook where the disciple is praying to the spiritual master, please let me be with you. Please let me feel your presence. So on the one hand, it's very rarely done, mostly because people don't even understand that this is what's required. They say, oh, he lives forever by his divine instruction, and the follower lives with him. Therefore, I have my clipboard, and I have a list of things that I'm supposed to do, and I have another list of things I'm not supposed to do. And and if I complete this checklist, then one day I'll be blessed with Krishna consciousness. But the things that we're talking about, or trying to talk about, I think the word is elucidate, trying to bring into focus, those are also part of those instructions. Those are the most important part of those instructions. Because even if we can't do everything perfectly, although we're trying our very best, if we can do what Srila Prabhupada really wants, is that we try to understand and learn from him his devotion, imbibe the taste of his devotion to Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada says in 434 of Bhagavad Gita, in this verse, blind following is condemned, just to follow the checklist. One should not only hear submissively from the spiritual, one must get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiry. Then Srila Prabhupada says, the bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind. By nature, Srila Prabhupada is very kind toward the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and always ready to render service, always trying to please, just like you try to please somebody, not simply by putting the food in front of them and walking away abruptly, but really wishing them that they're going to enjoy this prasadam. Is it being personal? The activity is simply the medium through which we demonstrate our love. The activity is simply so Srila Prabhupada is telling us, explaining to us, what are the activities through which we cultivate our love for him. It's not that the activities themselves are the love for him. It's the love that we saturate these activities, these prescribed. The doctor gives a prescription, we take the medicine. It's prescribed. Srila Prabhupada prescribes the activities, but it's through these activities, that through the prescribed activities, we cultivate our love for Srila Prabhupada. So there's two things. It's the quality with which we do this checklist, But if we simply do the checklist mechanically, Srila Prabhupada says, that's missing the point, he says, quote unquote. It's called niyamagraha, missing the point. He says that the point is that it's through these activities that we cultivate feelings of love for Srila Prabhupada. So he says, therefore, the last sentence in the 434, when the student is submissive and always ready to render service, always having this serving mood, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiry becomes perfect. The reciprocation, there's a reciprocation of, we are asking, what is this love of Krishna? It's written in teachings of Lord Chaitanya that the student should inquire from the bona fide spiritual master about love. It's written just like that. So when the student is submissive to imbibe the taste and always ready to render service, to try to be pleasing, to try to want to please Srila Prabhupada. The reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. So this is here for all of us. And like we were trying to say before, the disciple prays to the spiritual master, but I don't have this sense of connection with you. Please let me be with you. So every day we can pray like that. One who actually prays with a desire in the heart, ardent desire in the heart, please let me be with you. Krishna will give us the intelligence, how to begin to feel Srila Prabhupada's presence. Please let me be with you. When will I hold your lotus feet? Until the end of time. When oh when will that day be mine? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I offer you all respect, for thus I may have the ability to know you correctly. Then, by chanting the holy name with feelings of devotion, all my offenses will cease. So we can get this feeling of devotion from Srila Prabhupada by imbibing the taste, by being infected with in his association. And then we can chant with the same feeling. Again, teachings of Lord Chaitanya, chapter 18, quote, the process is that the pure devotee chants the mantra, and if it enters the ear of the disciple, and if the disciple chants with the same feeling, that becomes the worship of the holy name. And then the holy name spreads his glories within the heart of such a disciple. As far as Srila Prabhupada gave it from the day one, the same instruction. As far as possible, the chanting should be heard from the lips of a pure devotee, so that an immediate effect can be achieved. So what is the immediate effect? The immediate effect is that just as a gardener puts a seed in the ground, in the soil, we can catch a little bit of his feeling in the form of a seed taste. And so one moment of submissiveness to Srila Prabhupada gives us the seed in the heart, and then we can cultivate that seed by holding it in our heart. When will I hold your feet until the end of time? Because there's no difference between the memory of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vishnu. Smaranam, remembering that feeling of being in touch with Srila Prabhupada. That's the cultivation of the seed of devotion. So one moment even of having that taste, when we see Srila Prabhupada singing Jai Radha Madhava, you can see that he goes inside, deep inside, and you can hear the sound of his voice, and we can see the look of intense desire of Srila Prabhupada to be close to Krishna. He had love for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says the spiritual master in, I think it's the 34th chapter of Krishna book, where Srila Prabhupada explains about the feelings of the gopis, how their feelings of longing for Krishna's association, longing to be with Krishna, to feel his presence. And they're having feelings of separation, longing, vipralamba seva, love of Krishna in a mood of separation, is regarded by Lord Chaitanya as the epitome, as the most beautiful, most elevated platform of love of Krishna. So in that, on the first page of that chapter, as Srila Prabhupada said, that all those who are in the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, they should feel this separation from Krishna with a longing to be Yugayatam Nameshena Chakshusha Pravrashayatam. So he says, the spiritual master, he'll enrich. Just like you go to the store and you can buy some flour, whole wheat flour, make chapatis for Krishna. But there's two kinds of flour. There's ordinary flour, and then there's enriched. It has a special ingredient added. Srila Prabhupada says, the spiritual master will enrich the disciples with these feelings of love for Krishna. So we shouldn't simply take his prescription, but we have to become enriched. That same word, enrich, the added ingredient of devotion, is also in 1.525. That the neophyte, Srila Prabhupada says, the neophyte devotee becomes enriched in the association of the pure devotee. So we're talking about it. We're talking about it because we're aspiring to our hope and our prayer. Oh Master, let me be with you. Prema Bhakti, from him, this love of Krishna emanates like heat and light, emanate from the sun and fill the whole universe. From him, ecstatic prem emanates. If we can catch it, our ignorance is destroyed. So this is Krishna consciousness. That's why Srila Prabhupada says, if one person. So Srila Prabhupada used to say all the time, all I want is one moon, just one moon, not so many stars. There are thousands and millions of stars in the Milky Way, in the sky. Srila Prabhupada wants one moon. So the moon, that's the sun, its own light, but the moon is reflecting the light of the sun. So the pure devotee, from him this love of Krishna emanates. He's like the sun. And he's asking if he can have one moon. Therefore, he says in the preface of Bhagavad Gita, if one person actually becomes a pure devotee, he'll consider it a success. There are some very, very nice devotees. They want to make everything between the different factions. In Krishna consciousness, we have so many parties now, and sometimes they criticize each other. And some devotees, they are wishing very much in their heart for everyone to come together. The force that will bring everyone together is if someone can become a moon to Srila Prabhupada. Their love is so attractive. When we had the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, everyone was working together because Srila Prabhupada was in the center, so attractive. If we can become a moon, we can then begin to bring these different together. So, Hare Krishna. Thanks. Thanks for letting me speak a little bit. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much also. I think Ramachandra Prabhu, if you're there, I'm not sure if you have questions or comments from this lesson, but from the previous lesson at least, also you had something.
Hare Krishna.
No, nothing, Prabhu. I just made a comment in the chat. So
Okay.
just,
What was the comment?
let's see here.
In this chat?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't see it. That must be on YouTube, right?
No, here. I'll share it again. 1 second.
It hasn't come up.
Okay, 1 second. Maybe you can share it, Prabhu.
Yeah, I can see it now. Still doesn't show.
Oh, doesn't show. Okay, 1 second.
No.
Oh, why doesn't it show? 1 second.
Message sent before you joined the meeting.
Yeah. Did you get that one?
No, that's all it says. Oh, now I
Okay.
see. It's a link. You said a link.
I shared a link, and then in the link there's a description of what Prabhupada is saying.
Yeah, here it only shows the link, so I have to press the link probably, and it'll take me somewhere. 1 second.
Yeah.
This is Bhajan and purport to Gora Pahu.
Yeah. Then Prabhupada says in the you go down, it's saying Prabhupada talks about prema ratana dhana. Can you see it? Spiritual life means to develop real love. Everyone has love. There are so many signboards, so many papers, love, but there is no love. This is illusion. It is all lust. Love for intoxication, love for sex, love for this. This is going on. So actual love means love. This word can be applicable only with Krishna, with God, because we are created for that purpose. To love means to love Krishna. So that is wanted. That is spiritual love. So prema ratana. I could achieve that transcendental position of love, but I'm neglecting. Therefore, I am calling my spiritual death, and these things are happening due to my past misdeeds. So I found it very interesting because I'm going through Srila Prabhupada's 1969 discussions, classes. So these things are there, you know. Prabhupada talks about different things in his classes, and these things come up.
Yes. Ishan Prabhu, can you do you have access to this chat? I've posted it there now, the words. Can you see that?
Not on my computer, but maybe you send me the link. Can either of you send me the
It
link?
should be, actually should be visible just on your right side of the screen. Can you see? It should
No,
pop up. It's already there, I think.
it's not on my screen, but I don't mean immediately. I mean sometime during the day or in the days ahead. Send me that link because I would like to copy it. And you know, the idea is, or one idea is, that in teaching the process of bhakti yoga, the assumption is that we have the capacity to love. Otherwise, no, a person can never. It's not that the loving. We have the capacity to love, and Srila Prabhupada says we just transfer the account from illusory objects of affection to the real objects of affection. So we have to learn how to kindle feelings of love. When you start a fire, we have a wood stove in our house. In the wintertime, we heat with the fire, the wood stove. So first you put in little to kindle, to make a little flame. So, and then it grows as you keep feeding it. So, so Krishna consciousness is the assumption that we have the ability to direct feelings of affection, to open our hearts to what is love? Love is very simple. It's to find, instead of, the world is engaged in passion and ignorance, trying to satisfy their senses and their minds, their social position, things of that nature, their ambitions, their fame, their name. People have all that's subtle, self-centered gratification, and then gross gratification, this to satisfy the tongue, the belly, the genitals, the sense of touch, so many things. So, but in Krishna consciousness, instead of wanting to please ourselves, love simply means taking pleasure in the happiness of other, in the happiness and fulfillment of another, the well-being of another. When this is applied to Krishna or Krishna's pure devotee, it's called bhakti. So it doesn't mean that we have to be falling on the floor and having these ecstatic symptoms. That's for very, very elevated level of Krishna consciousness. Those are symptoms. But the orientation is the same. The orientation is one, to genuinely take pleasure in Srila Prabhupada's pleasure, to genuinely take pleasure in Krishna's pleasure. That's called love. So we already have that ability, but we're directing it towards illusory objects of affection. Like, Srila Prabhupada explains that if a man is drowning and you dive into the water and you come back with his shirt and coat and pants, and the man continues to drown, we miss the point. So the point is that people are not these bodies, they're spirits, soul. So if we give them food, give them education, give them medical help, give them so many things, but we don't save them from the cycle of birth and death, we're missing the point. So to really, Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is the greatest welfare activity. Is it to save others from the cycle of birth and death, that we're all drowning in the ocean of samsara. So to take pleasure in the well-being and happiness of others is called love. So when this is directed towards Krishna and Krishna's pure devotee, and even towards each other, to want to share Krishna consciousness, this is love. To take pleasure, to enjoy enhancing the well-being of others. So Krishna consciousness assumes that we have this ability. We do it every day. When we say hello to somebody and we enter the store and say, how's it going? How are you feeling? How are you doing today? It means I care. It means I'm happy for your happiness. So we have these feelings every day, but the objects are illusory, of our affection is illusory. And we're talking about a person's body, mind, but we're not talking about their ultimate eternal well-being. So bhakti yoga, to practice it, it assumes that we have this capacity, and we only have to, Srila Prabhupada says, transfer the account to Krishna and Krishna's pure devotee. And that's love. To take pleasure in trying to please them. And then it grows as we didn't have that. We actually had the conviction in our heart that if I attain this and this and this, it'll fulfill me. After all, everybody, why do people go to school from the age of 5 to 20? For 20 years, they get education because they think then I'll get a good job, or I'll have a nice business, and then I'll make money, and then I'll have all the things of this world, and then I'll be happy. So people work so hard to achieve illusory objects of affection. So to take this same feeling of affection that we have towards others, towards everything, and transfer that to Krishna. And so Srila Prabhupada says it's only a question of transferring this feeling, becoming personal, having a personal feeling with Srila Prabhupada of wanting to please him. We cultivate that, and the more we do, the more we can feel his presence. So then we learn that this is very nice. And then we wish, oh, if only I could remain like this instead of being forgetful and distracted. Then we pray like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, oh, you have this feeling of Krishna consciousness. I can only get it from you. When will I hold your feet until the end of time? He begins to understand that it's so nice to be in touch with the pure devotee. And this, when will I have the intelligence to stay fixed in that position? And he starts hankering for that, wishing for that. So Srila Prabhupada encouraged us not to blindly follow, but to understand the nectar of devotion, the sweet taste of wanting to be in his association. To Hare Krishna.
Ramachandra Prabhu says he doesn't have any more comments. So if you like, we can end it there.
Just trying to understand. Just trying to understand. There are certain things which make it easier to be loving. Srila Rupa Goswami gives instruction that the first thing he talks about is enthusiasm. When people go to a football game or to a political rally, they're so enthusiastic. They're cheering. They're 100% leaning forward. And they're joyful about it. They're cheering. They're so pleased. When they have a favorite football team or baseball team and their team scores a point, they're all jumping to their feet and cheering and jumping up and down, and their big smiles on their face and shouting. This is enthusiasm. So Srila Rupa Goswami says that to make spiritual life work, we have to have this enthusiasm. And that enthusiasm is based on the faith that this is a reality, that Srila Prabhupada can receive our love. And with enthusiasm, we try to please him. When you go to a tailor, he makes clothing for you, then you try it on for size to see if it fits. We had tried this on for size, when we chant our japa, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Except the understanding that I'm in touch with Krishna. Oh, yes, I've heard that many times. We can say, no, really accept it and think, oh my God, I'm in touch with Krishna. Hurry and chant with that faith and with gratitude and with a joyful heart. And with the idea that we're chanting for Srila Prabhupada's pleasure. They chant for Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, surround Srila Prabhupada with the sound vibration of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As soon as we have just a little experience that Srila Prabhupada is accepting our love, we want more of it. We want more of it. And anyone can do that. It's simple for the simple. It's only a matter of understanding and accepting. And one can do it in a second. These are all quotes from Srila Prabhupada. One can do this in a second. Or one can do it in 100 births or 1,000 births. But one can do it in a second. Just enthusiasm and faith. Enthusiasm and faith. Joyful enthusiasm. Krishna consciousness is only a matter of understanding and accepting the measure of our acceptance is to engage with joyful enthusiasm. That means we've accepted it as a reality. So we all have to make that experiment. Unfortunately, it's being taught that Krishna consciousness is all about following a checklist, and that if we follow that checklist, one day we'll be blessed with love. That when we have revelation, when we are blessed with realization, then we'll have love. And actually, the truth is that when we have love, then we're blessed with realization. It's being taught amongst our peers, amongst our God brothers, that when we have realization, we'll have love. But the truth of Krishna consciousness is when we have love, we'll have realization. So we have to be courageous, make that experiment. But in the association of a pure devotee, our faith increases. Keep hearing from him. Keep hearing from him. Hare
Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki. Ishan
Jai.
Prabhu, thank you so much again for your association.
Hare Krishna.
Ramachandra Prabhu, I'm not sure if you're still there, but have a wonderful day, you too, and thank you for your association.
Oh, can you send me that link when you have
Already
time?
did. Yeah, I already did. It's on your WhatsApp.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai. Thank you, Prabhu, for giving me
Thank
this
you.
opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing.
Jai, Prabhu.